On one fateful day, while working on a Pokemon video at the time, I suddenly received a DM on Twitter from a developer who claimed to be interested in my work and wished to work with me on their video game project. They planned for it to be kind of a sequel/remake to their previous game, then ended the initial message with a question about my interest in the project. I already have plenty of things, projects, school, work and personal things going on, and I don't really have free time as is. I'm in. So yeah, me being me, and going for the blissful ignorance route, until reality will eventually hit me in the face, I decided to try and get everything done on my end in a month or less. Emphasis on try. So that I can quickly get back to working on videos without any major delays. Surely that won't backfire in any shape or form, right? Since this game is a sequel that takes many elements from the original game, and a good majority of y'all probably recognize Monsuno more than Automon, I think it would be quite understandable if I give you a quick overview of the original. Released on March 4th, 2022, Automon is what you could call a roguelike auto-battler with elements of monster taming games, or for the ones like me that mostly just play Pokemon, a Pokemon-like game. Ooh. Think of Super Auto Pets, then some elements of Slay the Spire as reference, while going for a more cruder and rougher aesthetic to stand out more and scoot any Nintendo toe-stepping claims under the rug too. But if there's any major reason that we could have issues with copying or stealing, that would be with the quote-unquote Automon Pokemon designs. So let's take a peek at the roster. Featuring 55 unique monsters that stand on their own without evolution in the picture, most of them combine a simple or unassuming concept with a hefty serving of crude or meme-related concepts. So hey, if the presumable Venusaur cousin doesn't speak your language, I'm sure the Gigachad Zeus or not at all phallic sentient bomb plant will tickle your fancy. But besides the standout Automon roster, the game itself is just your daily iteration of the roguelike genre. Pick a starter, go through levels to beat enemies and upgrade your team, while hoping that everything you've gathered and the type combos you've made for extra bonuses and buffs till this point will be good enough. All in all, a fun goofy game that I recommend at a cheap price for anyone to kill a few hours. Now that you have an idea of the game in your mind, the next question that probably comes to mind is, will he finally talk about the thing he said in the title? Yeah, good point, I'll get to it. Since the developer, aka Graal, created the first game all on his own, the coding and game assembling parts were up to him, while redesigning the whole 55 Automon roster and other art assets were left up to me. Before starting work on sprites, every batch of 10 designs were decided and discussed possible redesign concepts for them too, resulting with every Automon getting remade and having extra back and icon sprites made as well. Along the spriting and game designing process, we would also discuss and review how the game looks with certain sprites in them, and the game structure too with how it's coming along. Of course, along the creation process, some redesigns became personal favorites. For example, Ramblaz getting created with fist horns came out of me misunderstanding the original sprite and gave the both of us a good laugh. The metal's shine and subtle color shift for Sheikon makes the brain chemistry unlock a new upgrade path, while a nicely done fire on Fireneck pretty much does the same in a different way. Elegy, still haven't decided how to pronounce it, being one of the biggest redesigns along with Jazzup, get some easy personal bias brownie points, but as for which ones Graal himself enjoyed, I think seeing his blue sky and Twitter profile icons is a cute enough way to tell. Either way, the whole roster pretty much came along within the span of like 3 weeks in the terms of time spent working on them, and every design got their fair share of attention, as you see here. Honestly, the sheer stupidity that many of them have initially made me see this as a goofy parody game, which, don't misunderstand me, it still is. But I think that exact thing is what made me want to stick through and put in 110% for the project. So I hope you see them and the game by proxy in that same light too. Though making the game is only one part of the game development journey. How is it for the actual, game itself? Alright, I showcased the part that I did and made some art. But what would be the point of it if there wouldn't be a game that they could be used for in the first place? Starting work on the game even before I got added onto the team on October 23rd, 2024, the main guy in the two-man team started work on his second project, Automon Arena. To keep it short, the main concept of the game is pretty much just Automon, but in multiplayer form. All players share the same map, and the goal is to be the last man standing either by defeating everyone else in battle or outlasting the other players against wild Automon that get stronger over time. Build your team from wild encounters while being careful with your life points, bully weaker players by defeating them in battle and knocking them out of the game completely. Seek out NPC trainers that give you boosts if you beat them, and other features that you will be able to use and go for the win. I probably would get a trophy for the best sentence said that most sounded like a ad read. Goddamn. But yeah. A lot of the game's mechanics and assets were able to be reused from the first game, so core factors of the game were easy to build up and get the main idea ready for testing. A little while later, after making the first announcement of the game, around some time in December, the game was prepped quite early for public testing due to its multiplayer aspect and got an itch.io page made for it, which means that you can go check it out too. Which means that it's releasing soon.
Oh
right?
no!
Insert that Star Wars meme image, right? Yeah. A big part of the game dev journey that can't be forgotten is preparing for the final big step, which is getting the game ready for release. In our case, what does it look like for Automon Arena? Based on how it's currently progressing, the Steam version will be ready once the game is stable enough, has had plenty of testing done, and looks, at the very least, a bit better than the original game, which is a low bar to be fair. Dev's words, not me. The game initially was like a paperboard game prototype that expected people to already know what's going on without any rules or guides, or hand-holding tutorials on YouTube, shout out to them. But this video kept being delayed for so long that the development of the game in that time frame progressed enough for Automon to actually get an in-game tutorial. Though being on anything other than itch.io, a public web browser-based game sharing uploading site for those who don't know, still wouldn't make much sense right now. So with all of this in mind, how long do you think the people will have to wait for a Steam release, Graal?
I plan to release the game around August if all goes well. It will likely start in early access and I'll be using player feedback to guide the development from there.
Well, you heard it from the top G, the man himself. Of course, there's still things that could make the date subject to change, unexpected bugs or issues that need fixing, some sudden inspirations or drops of ideas that could be added into the games, or specific changes that only can be spotted with great amounts of testing. Actually, speaking of testing, talking about getting close to a final release is one thing, but how would you be able to experience the game itself? Besides waiting for the already mentioned date, that the game will release on Steam, Automon Arena currently has an itch.io page where the dev puts constantly updated and playable versions that also double as tools for feedback, which you can also give in the Automon Discord server. If you want to support the project, on the game's itch.io page you can find the donation button, but in the words of the developer, the best way to contribute is by playing the game. Quote of the day of the video, yeah. No, of course, the original Automon game is available on Steam for quite some time. So if you want to support Graal while getting something out of it too, that's one way to do it. But yeah, that's pretty much the short and summarized version of my first real dabble into the game dev experience and that whole thingamabob scheme, yeah. Hopefully it's not the last, unlike the ending of this video. Thank you, patrons and members, for helping with making YouTube a more sustainable venture. Don't check my Twitter if you're not cool, and stay tuned for more while maybe clicking on one of these two videos. I understand YouTube thinks you might like one of them, so why not prove me right? That's not enticing. Okay, see ya.